Question 11 asks us to distinguish between these four compounds using just test tube reactions. Questions like this are quite common, and it's important to make sure you clearly understand the premise of the question, which is that you know that these are the four substances you've got, but you don't know which one is which. So you can't say things like, oh, I'll test that one with 2,4-DNP and I'll test that one with, aqueous acidic dichromate or whatever, because you don't know which one is which. So that's not the way it wants you to set it up. You've got to start from the point that you just don't know which one is which. So your first test will be on all of them, and then based on the outcome of that, you'll then gradually narrow it down. So you've got to practice that kind of structure of answer. So what you're going to get marks for is having a clear logical scheme, and also making sure that you do only use test tube reactions. So no melting points, no databases, no refluxing or complicated methods like that, and definitely no spectroscopy. It's all just things you can do in a test tube, and there have to be observations. There's no point saying, this one reacts with NaBH4 or something. If you can't see it react, it's no good, because it won't do as a test. Okay, so as always with these, there are lots of possible answers. So I'll just give you one example, but you could do it in other ways as well. So let's say, first of all, that you recognise 2,4-DNP is a reagent which reacts only with aldehydes and ketones. So that's going to pick this one out, which is a ketone, and not react with all of the others. So that's what you say. First of all, add 2,4-DNP to all of them. Okay, just making it clear that they're each going to be treated the same way. And then you explain that propanone will form an orange-yellow precipitate. But you've also got to say explicitly what the others do, and if that's nothing, then that's what you say. So you say no reaction for the others. So the upshot of that is that you've positively identified this one because it's the only one that reacted. And I think you should say that, because that's where the sort of clear logical structure comes in. So you say, right, therefore, propanone is identified. So now you can just focus your next test on the other three, and you don't bother doing anything else with the propanone, and that's important as well. So in this case, you can do just one test which will distinguish between all three of those. That's unusual, but you could in this case, and that would be to heat with aqueous silver nitrate. Now the detail there is important, because what you're doing is, by heating with an aqueous solution, you're going to hydrolyze the haloalkanes. Okay, that's nucleophilic substitution. That's a reaction you should know from the first year. And so of course when that happens, Cl- ions are released from this, and I- ions will be released from that, which can then react with the silver ions. So the heating is important and the aqueous is important. If you just say add silver nitrate, it's not going to work. Okay, it's got to be aqueous because you need the H2O to react with these, to put OH into there and to release the chloride or bromide ions, and you need the heat because that reaction's too slow at room temperature. So again, when you're learning this stuff, you don't need to learn tremendous detail, but you need to learn enough to make sure that, yes, the test would work. So you heat with aqueous silver nitrate, and you do this for the other three solutions, the other three compounds. Right, no point doing it for propanone. And then the beauty of that is that they each behave differently. So you say that propan-2-ol has no reaction. Okay, it's just an alcohol, it has no reaction with silver nitrate or with water, so that's all you need for that one. 2-chloropropane will form a white precipitate. You don't have to explain why that happens in this kind of question, but obviously in another kind of question you might have to be able to explain it, so make sure you know, as I say, that it's the hydrolysis reaction. OH goes in, chloride comes out, and the chloride then precipitates with the silver ions to form white silver chloride, and 2-iodopropane will form a yellow precipitate. You can do the confirmatory tests with solubility in ammonia. That one dissolves in dilute ammonia, that one is insoluble. You could do that as well if you wanted to, but that's not really necessary. This would be enough to get you the marks, and then explain again that this means that the other three are individually identified as well. And that's all you need. So lots of other possible combinations you could use, but that is a particularly simple way. So practice that structure for these kind of identifying substance questions, because they're quite common.